Okay.
All right, I'm gonna change this to my desk at home.
He didn't say anything.
It's a very thin book. It's a very fast read, I hope. And what you will learn, obviously, is primarily about city councils, but you all as an advisory board still have pretty much the same procedures. So if you want to make super clear, it's the book. Definitely take it home, read it, look at it. If you have questions, you have my email address, and certainly refer to it all. Refer to it all. The guy on the back, Trey Allen, is actually currently a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, yeah.
It was written in 2017 when he was.
Yeah.
But anyway, School of Government has a very, very extensive library, and an awful lot of their books are guidebooks that we use in our everyday jobs, and this is certainly one of them. So there will be other books in the future, but the rule here is this is on loan. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Pleased to pass it out to you.
Thank you very much. Well, that then brings us to the attendance policy document that was circulated, and that's open to discussion after your presentation, sir.
The presentation is the discussion itself. So I was going to say, in our UDO, there is a section in there on the planning board. And what it says in the UDO is that the planning board has to adhere to the attendance policy created by the town board commissioners.
Right.
Well, we couldn't find one. So anyway, it occurred to many of us that we were going to need to have one. And our town attorney worked very closely with staff, and most of it, I'll certainly say that, but he didn't want to take you all through it. This applies to every advisory board the town has. Basically, it says that you are automatically removed for lack of attendance at regular meetings. Lack of attendance is defined as failure to attend 2 consecutive meetings or to attend at least 2/3. So basically, if you have 12 meetings a year, 1/3 would be 4. So if you miss 4 in any year, not consecutive, but you just miss 4, you're automatically removed. Otherwise, if you miss 2 in a row, you're automatically removed. Obviously, excused absences due to illness, absence from the meeting due to personal hardship, if approved by the majority vote of the board, shall not constitute a lack of attendance. Absences shall be entered into the minutes. So when you have if you have an evening, you all have been really good here lately, but if you have an evening where you all don't attend, then you simply look at around the room. You, of course, take note as part of your minutes anyway as to who's not here. And then you basically vote to either call it an excused or an unexcused absence. You do not do that in advance. It happens at the meeting. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Please jump in.
You stated that if you miss 4, you're automatically off.
Yes.
The way I read it, if you fail to attend 2/3, which is 8.
8.
If you fail to attend 8, so if you do attend 8, you can still miss 4.
Theoretically, yes, sir.
So there's a math issue we need to clarify. You said 4 means off.
Here's the author.
This really says 5 means off.
Mr. Attorney?
It doesn't say 4 in there, Randy. You're the one that said 4.
Oh, I have it right here on my phone.
Here you go. You can use my paper copy if you want to look at that one. Here you go. Here.
I don't have any issue with this language, but what you said contradicts this.
Right. What pulls the trigger?
Missing 4.
That's not what this says.
Okay, again, the author is back here.
All right.
Debating me does not solve the problem.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what he's saying.
I'm asking.
So Randy's asking, is that what that's supposed to say?
Sorry, and I'm yielding the floor.
There was one
Which presumably there is.
presumably.
That's correct.
Anyway, yeah, if you attend less than 8, then presumably you would be excluded.
So last year we had, I think, 10 meetings. So if you missed 2, sayonara.
But does it work, but does it qualify if we don't have a meeting? That would be we had 2 months where we didn't have a meeting. So do you do you refigure it if we only have 10?
Regular meetings.
Regular means, which just means if we only have 10, then that's it. It'd be 2/3 of the 10.
Somebody's gonna have to have a calculator, I'm sure.
Yeah, but 2/3 of the 10,
2/3 of the 10.
yeah.
And that's the unexcused.
Right.
Okay.
Is this something that's for our action or just information?
No, it's not for your action. It's been handed to you. It's been
Right.
announced that it has been approved by the town.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. No, later on, we'll get into other.
Well, we should still clarify your statement
Right.
is erroneous as based on this thing. Does that?
That makes you feel better, please.
Sure.
go ahead.
It's not to make me feel better. It's to make what you stated in the
If
minute.
you do not attend 2/3, off you go.
You said, but you also said
Okay, Carl?
if you miss 4, you're off. That's what you said.
Okay, thank you.
You're not-
Randy, you're arguing with the mind of an engineer, so.
And I'm saying that I've had, I yield. Let's go on to the next item.
I think not.
I don't know if it's the next item or if it's within the same item about having a quorum. Is that the next item? Or is that within the same item? You said
That's
like,
a totally different item.
okay, about being there for a,
That's next argument.
okay,
All right.
cool.
I'm sorry to bring it up one more time, but this is the written policy for the.
That is the written.
Okay, as long as we have this, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not up for debate. It's been given. All right. At this point.
All right, very good. Public comment period. Has anyone signed up to speak this evening? No? Ginger is shaking her head no, so we have not had anyone apply. Any old business to be brought before the board tonight? And it appears not, so we'll move on to new business, and that is PB 23601, a map amendment for 84 East Chetland Street.
That's been pulled.
Oh, that's pulled. Oh, I'm sorry. I overlooked that. Thank you.
That item is, they're coming back at a different time
All right.
with them again.
Thank you, Mr. Director. So UDO text amendments. Jenna, you have the floor.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm also IT, so I'm just
That's quite all right.
getting that worked out. Okay, so I am presenting the first quarter round of text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance. So the first one is regarding the high density development option. And so currently it has to be approved by the Board of Commissioners, and this is no longer a necessary step because we have town engineers at staff level that are capable of making sure the watershed requirements are met. So this is just an extra hoop for applicants to have to jump through. And so we are recommending that we remove that step, that additional approval.
Makes sense.
And then the next one is to the principal use table. And so that is regarding mini storage and manufacturing. We're looking at the heavy section. It's broken out into a couple sections. So we are recommending that mini storage and manufacturing heavy be changed to conditional rezoning. That's what the CD stands for in the M1 and M2 districts. And the intent behind this one is to preserve the character in Foxborough as development continues to occur. And then our next one is to expand on that definition of manufacturing heavy. The UDO currently is a little vague on the 3 different categories. So we really wanted to put in some examples of what we're talking about when we say manufacturing heavy. So we've added quite a few examples to help limit the interpretations that has to do. And then the next one is talking about the payment in lieu for open space and public recreation. So when applicants can't meet those, they can pay a payment in lieu. And so this is just changing when that payment is due. Currently, it's at the building permit time, which is a permit issued by the county. And so we just want to give that control to us when the zoning compliance certificate is issued, because that's what the town issues. So it just kind of gives us more control when the payment is due, and it cleans up the language a lot. And then the next couple amendments are talking about credits. So in the UDO, we have perimeter buffers, landscaping buffers, street yard buffers, and then we also have open space and recreation requirements. Each category has its own standards within the UDO, and they also have a section about what could be a credit towards it. And the staff recommends removing the credits because it's not really necessary. The UDO was crafted in a way that we want those standards to be met within each category, and we don't want your perimeter buffer to reduce the active recreation space that you need. So this is a couple slides just removing the credit section. So it's removing out of the perimeter buffers and landscaping and more landscaping, and then screening. And then that brings us to signs. And so we, again, noticed some issues with moving signs and illuminated flashing signs. So we wanted to just clarify the language there so that way it's easier to interpret. So we have added in some examples like feather flag signs and pennants. And then that brings us to the next one, which is the planning board membership. So we noticed that the planning board is an even number, and typically boards are odd numbers to help reduce the event of a tie vote. And so the recommendation is to change that to an odd number. And then accordingly, if you change the number of the planning board, then you have to change the quorum number. So that's the recommendation here. And then that brings us to an amendment to the table of development review procedures. And so the first one is to remove the pre-submittal meeting for residential site plans and for minor subdivisions. Those are things that can be done at staff level, and having applicants come to a pre-submittal meeting is an unnecessary step for both parties. And then we're also recommending removing the community meeting for a zoning map amendment, because zoning map amendments require a public hearing and the public mailing notes to go out. So there's ample time for community members to be involved with. So we just wanted to clean that up as well. And then construction drawings are a step in the UDO. And so we wanted to clear up the language, the process to get that submitted and approved. And then the last one comes back to that community information. If we take it out of the general use rezoning review, then in that section in the UDO, we need to strike the language out that it's no longer a requirement. I know I went through that kind of fast. Do you have any questions about anything specific?
I have two for you.
Okay.
Section 3, I think that the term planing mills may be misspelled. I think it's one N. That's the last sentence in that section. Coming then to Section 9, where does the new sign that popped up in front of Northwood High School fall? It's illuminated, it's very bright at night, it's animated, and it sits directly opposite Mosaic. Was there a special waiver given there?
My understanding, I might have to defer to my colleagues because I've only been here for 2 months. But my understanding is that Northwood follows their own sign ordinance that's separate as part of their like master use development plan. And so I'm not sure if it would have been approved through that.
Yes.
It was, oh.
Yes.
Can I ask about Horton School?
I guess they might could put one up, huh?
They've got one with a moving.
Oh, yeah, that's right, they do with the moving lettering. I'd forgotten that.
Horton would have to follow the UDO standards.
Oh, okay.
Do it.
Horton
have-
Middle School would follow the UDO standards. For signs.
And
Will it be grandfathered then? If this is a change, or is this a change?
Yes, sir. If it's an existing sign and they received a permit for it, then it's vested.
Okay.
Okay,
let's say for flags, you know,
That the flags that are listed there are temporary signage. If you stick a feather flag out, it's not out there forever. You don't get a permit for that permanently. It's a temporary sign.
no, but like an American flag.
There's language for flags in the UDO.
It's separated.
Okay.
Different section.
Most commonly UDOs don't regulate.
Any moving signs. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, would you explain again? So I'm looking at number 14. Where you talked about the community meeting, but where above that was the reference that you were talking about?
In the chart.
So back here,
12.
yes, so this M at the bottom right here, zoning map amendment, we'd remove this M because we're saying that for a general use rezoning map amendment, the North Carolina statutes require you to have a mailing notice of, I believe, 500 feet to all adjacent property, well, not adjacent, within 500 feet of the property. So you have to mail the notices, and then the Board of Commissioners would hold a public hearing as well. And so it was like redundant to have that with conditional rezonings. Sometimes if you know that community members are opposing your projects, you can speak with them and kind of work some of those issues out. But with general rezonings, that's not applicable.
Okay, thank you.
Get back to 11 real quick.
Also, I'm sorry, then if someone is actually rezoning, they also have to come here. So you have multiple opportunities. If someone doesn't like it, say, oh, what's that?
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me and stuff, but I thought there was some text about if you leave early for a certain portion of the meeting.
Are you going back to the previous item we were on
I
the?
apologize, we gave you the wrong information.
Earlier.
That would be regarding the first topic. That would not be about this quorum amendment.
Yeah. You can bring that up under board member discussion again, if you like.
Okay, no, that's what I asked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it was.
While we're on number 11, though, that one gives me a lot of heartburn. I think if we need an odd number, we'd go to 7, not 5. 3 people would be here. It only takes 2 to approve
Right.
or 2 to deny. If that's the attendance we have. So we're calling 3 a quorum. Now it's 4, which I could even then argue a little bit insufficient, but I would rather see this go to 7.
Yeah.
What we're doing is I think we're reducing the input of the planning board speaking to the town board.
Right. And I'm looking at our new text and stuff here too. It's like without being excused, you're still deemed present for a quorum, right? If you're here and leave right away, you're still deemed present.
You're not stricken from the.
Page 6. So
Is there a way that if we kept 6, if there was a tie, an alternate could break the tie? Is that something that's a potential?
I'm not sure how, as far as with the statutes, the legality of it.
An alternate cannot break a tie. Right, if we have a quorum, an alternate cannot break a tie.
You only have 3.
You can't have a quorum of 3 if you got an alternate.
Right.
The question was if we stayed at 6 members.
Yeah, but
they were all there and an alternate was there.
we don't act as,
Concern she said was that there would be a tie.
Oh, really?
But then also if we had 2 alternatives.
If you've got so many rock, paper, scissors, they get done.
No.
At one of the meetings, didn't they say that the chair cannot vote? We were at one meeting where they said the chair.
The chair does vote.
The chair does, but we have a question.
The only board where the chair doesn't vote is the mayor of the town. As far as the planning board, the chair is present. Also, in terms of quorum, page 6 of the book that y'all were just handed, General Statute 168-74 basically says that a quorum is a majority, and the way it's been interpreted by the courts is half plus 1. So 4 being the current quorum with 7 members, basically is half plus 1.
No, I was talking about part 2 though. So a member who withdraws from a meeting without being excused is deemed present for a quorum purpose. Doesn't, yeah, okay. We don't have to
You have
vote.
to stop the meeting, the minute the person got up.
Yeah.
I'm with Carl. I think if we need an odd number, that 7 makes more sense. Because 2 people seems small if there were only 3 present.
Well, the question is if you can use an alternate to break a tie.
Well, that was just an idea that I was throwing out, and they said it's not possible.
It's not possible.
Whoa.
You can't have a quorum of 3
Has the
with
right.
an alternate.
Alternate steps in.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So you're always going to be,
But you run an alternate.
alternate show up, we're always going to be at the right number.
Yeah.
Does that 7 come from the town or from the ETJ? I guess it wouldn't. I mean, that'd be for,
Oh, you mean where would the 7th member come from?
yeah, because we're 4 and 2, right?
Proportional, and it would most likely come from the town.
Well, if we're removing one, that would be less
Then
proportional,
we would
right?
remove it from the town.
Right, which, so 2/3 versus. Yeah.
Or are you thinking when the alternate fills in?
Well, no, if we remove someone from the town, then we're giving a lot more proportion to the ETJ. Right? If we add one.
We go to 7 members, we have a formula for this.
Yeah,
It end up being 5 in town and 2.
And the Board of Adjustments is also, I believe it's 5 members. And it's 3 town members and 2 from the ETJ.
Okay.
And it follows the same formula that the planning board would follow.
So it would just give either a lot more proportion to the town or removing one, would give a lot more proportion to the ETJ. Right.
is this coming to us as a package? We approve it all, or we approve none of it, or can we segregate out specific pieces as in make an amendment?
You can pull pieces out you don't want to approve tonight, and we can take it back to the workshop.
Okay. Fair enough.
Can I hear from staff if there's like would 7 be too many? Is that not the advised way to go? Why was 5 recommended, I guess, my question? Or is there any, I don't know.
Yes. It's a combination of factors, and it was decided in conversation with the town clerk. So that's sort of how we landed.
Okay.
Okay, so who would y'all, so if you decide to go with, if 5 is what you're gonna have, how do y'all decide which one?
Wait until the terms run out,
Okay,
and then at that point, only one person would be appointed to fill the position. I believe 2 terms expire at the end of December.
okay.
I would suppose though, per the director's comment, if this is a matter that we feel should be, for Charity's suggestion, 7 members, why can't we just kick that back to the town board?
You absolutely can.
Yeah. I just was curious, like what the
Yes.
argument for 5 was,
Right.
you know?
I think that the argument between 5 and 7 now is perhaps dilution of ETJ versus town. I mean, that would be the difference.
Size of towns, typically smaller towns don't have very large boards.
Gotcha.
It depends on interest. It depends on a lot of factors.
Okay.
You know, that's my first read that section 11 there. 10, 20 years ago, we were a very small town, and I wouldn't have walked a minute about 5. But we're a different ballgame now. There's so much going on here. Anyway,
And
that's.
this is always something that can be reevaluated too, like
Right.
currently with a population less than 5,000, is 5 appropriate? That's the question. But then also in 10 years, this could be modified because it could be 7 is a more appropriate number too. This isn't like a finite concrete. This is still a living document that can be edited at any time too.
And what's like the equation for, again, you said you had an equation for, it would be 5 for town and 2 for, if it was 7, 5 for town.
It's just proportionality, isn't it?
Is it proportionality?
Yeah.
5,000 people?
Mhm.
And then
What is it now?
Oh, what is the
December, how many people would be ETJ?
I've earned just under 5,000 for in town.
Yeah.
Is it having section 2 alternates?
2/5 of that in the ETJ?
Basically, the
Or is that
formula
how-
starts out with you have to have 1 representative for the ETJ at all. If you have an area that encompasses that.
Sure,
The only
yeah.
board where that wouldn't apply is like a historical preservation, unless your historic district goes out to the ETJ as
Okay.
well. After the 1, it's basically the town's board's decision.
Discretion, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But a lot of places, I mean, when you get to much larger boards in a much larger town, what you do is you sort of figure out how many people are represented by the number of people who are the in-town members, and then you set up that the proportionality.
Okay, I got you,
What
yeah.
you
So it's,
particularly do not want to do
it's,
is you do not want to have more representatives in the ETJ than in
Correct.
town,
I
because
get
then
that.
you're allowing unincorporated county to make decisions for the incorporated.
sure, that makes sense, yeah,
And that is never a wise course of action.
right, it just went this rapid, yeah.
Randy, do you think that if we were to go down to 5 members, that with the growth of the town, that we would end up, this would come back and we would have to bump it back up to 7? But it,
Well, or
you
even
don't-
larger, but it really all depends.
okay,
Again, it depends on the growth of the town.
Right. Okay.
At this moment, a board of the size that we're proposing is fully capable.
What would be the preferred way for staff to move forward? Would it, because I like everything else on here except for that 1. Would it be prudent to move on those and take 1 item off? Or would it be easier for you all to send it all up when we're done with it?
I
Whether it's
think-
5, 7, or if we don't do anything with that, we leave it at 6 right now.
Actually, as an advisory board, you could certainly attach the advice that you simply didn't like the number. But as far as the entire rest of the packet, you certainly would want to voice how you felt. That's always one of the built-in issues of putting 3 or 4 things together as one thing. The thing to kind of remember when you're thinking about this, and it's maybe not a story we've had much conversation with you all about, is that we have probably 6 or more batches, at least of this size or bigger, that we intend to cover over the next year. There are a great number of changes that we feel are appropriate for the UDO. And while it could be argued that any one of these has potential of creating a similar discussion or dialogue, the point is, this is not something that's going to perpetually keep coming back. It's been a great deal of work to do. This is an item within a packet. We had some processes that we have found have slowed us down in an extreme manner. When you start thinking about a residential site plan, and I'm just going to pick on one person in the room who might have drawn a plot plan for one of those. If you could imagine yourself, or a 2-lot subdivision, you can imagine yourself attending a neighborhood meeting because some guy owns 4 acres of land and wants to turn it into 2 lots, or some lady or some other person has a little amount of land and wants to do something like that with it. That meeting would be grim, to say the least, and quite a bit of excitement for people who are going to otherwise find out about it. As far as these other particular pieces, yes, they're an awful lot less. Potentially anything, quite honestly, but because this is a change to the UDO, it very much has to come to this board, and this board is being tasked with giving an opinion.
Well, did this come up because of something from the town board or something from the book?
The town clerk brought it to our attention that an even number of members predisposed this board and any other board of its size to a split vote. We're going to have plenty of things come up over the next year that probably won't be something that each and every one of you goes, I'm super happy about. You may have some very strong feelings, and if you were to have a split vote, which happens very commonly in many boards, if we were to end up deadlocked with even 3-3, that would be not very good. So the advice coming from the clerk was get rid of that situation while you still can.
And to me, a 3-3 vote means there is some significant concern on behalf of half the board. It's not an approval. And that would be the vote that the town board would see. As I know it sort of stalls the process. And we rarely have that. But I don't see that as any more heartburn, maybe less so than going down to a reduced number. And if an alternate can't vote, we may be 5 of us here anyway, and it still may be 3-2.
I don't see the population of Pittsburgh dropping. I just got a gut feeling over
Yeah.
3 years. So why don't we just go to 7
Yeah.
and we don't have to worry about it?
Down the road. And the other thing is, I mean, the proportionality of population in Pittsburgh to the ETJ is always going to grow in the town's favor because we are tending to annex those pieces and parts that are contiguous to the town as they're developed. Go ahead, Bill.
What's the difference in 3-3 or tabling it? They can still go to the town board with it.
Sure.
So
I'm trying to recall, when did we last deadlock on something here? Do you remember a time, Bill or Carl?
I don't remember one.
You remember? a time when we were at a-
I can't,
Deadlock?
I don't know, remember a time that we were deadlocked. It seems like we always made a decision or we tabled it to the next meeting, but
Because we needed more information.
right, we needed more information. So it really wasn't that we deadlocked with each other. It wasn't that.
So essentially what you said is we can approve this, but with our comment about that and then let the town board discuss this.
Yes,
I think it's a good idea.
That is certainly.
I think-
Would someone make a motion to that effect? Approval with the proviso that will.
Sorry, actually, I don't think I can because I'm.
I'll do it. I'll move to approve this. Minus number 9 and 10. 10 and 11. I'm sorry, 10 and
10 and 11. Yeah, minus 10 and 11.
Yep.
And so does that call for 2 separate votes then? One on the the approval of all elements except for 10 and 11, or can we just incorporate into that motion the what is one? All right, good. So Charity, you want to propose
That we approve
all of these
all of
elements,
the elements except for
10 and 11, and that we communicate to the town board our recommendation
that we have 7 members.
that we have a 7-member board. Is that clear to everybody?
I'll second that.
Earl seconds Charity's motion. Can we have a vote on that? All in favor, aye?
No, for more just,
Oh, do you want more discussion? Go ahead.
I think you should.
All right,
Yeah,
fair enough.
I think it's either 7 or the remaining are 6, right? And
Oh, the status quo or 7.
4 or 7.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what?
I've not
I see the benefit of an
I do
odd
too, yeah,
number.
100%.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
I thought
So
there was a lot of
I do
discussion about
agree, we should
why
move
it was
away
6.
from 6.
Okay.
yeah, moving
Yeah.
away from 6 forecloses one of the problems that apparently the town clerk and the board, the town board would anticipate, and Charity's notion of 7 members anticipates the growth, as Ray spoke, and
Well, if we're lucky and the 7th member has skills that none of us others have,
right.
then it's going to benefit the board.
even if they don't have any specific skills, I think just the fact that
Viewpoint.
we have
Yeah.
more brains in the pot here.
And when we had
Basically,
open applications before, we had so many
Mhm.
qualified
Yeah.
people who
Mhm.
wanted to join.
Yeah, there's certainly a pool of interested parties. All right, so we have Charity's motion to approve with the recommendation to the town board that we move to a 7-member board rather than reducing to 5. Carl, I believe you seconded that. Is there any further discussion? We'll call for a vote. All in favor, aye.
Okay.
All opposed? The motion passes unanimously.
Ready to move.
Yeah.
Well, the motion was for all of it, but since they had discussion.
Right.
Except they can vote on it separate.
Okay, so then.
On the consistency element?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So does everybody follow that? And can I have a motion on the consistency statement?
I make a motion on this consistent statement.
Motion by Rita, do we have a second?
Trying to find which piece is that.
I think Jenna can pull it up on the screen pretty quick.
I didn't have that one already, so it might be a second long.
I take a minute.
Jenna seems to have master credentials on IT, for which I congratulate her.
Corey handed it over here.
Oh, okay, you got it.
I do, so I'm like one click away from
Yeah.
it up. That's helpful.
I just got in my head what all the pieces of this were.
Right.
Second, the
So moved by Frida, seconded by Charity. Vis-a-vis the consistency statement, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consistency statement passes unanimously. Thank you, Jenna, very much. And that then brings us to departments from the planning department. Mr. Director?
Not too much to tell. I've just come from a day spent in continuing education. We're going back tomorrow. And we had a very interesting conversation about affordable housing at the North Carolina Association of Zoning Officials winter conference. And other than that, I mean, we're plugging right along. We have quite a few proposals coming your way. As I said, there will be probably up to 6 more packets, quite similar to this one in size. Also, the item pulled today is likely going to come back next time. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding as to whether it was going to be a straight up zoning or a conditional zoning. And if it's conditional zoning, it's a whole different process.
Okay.
So definitely want you to be aware that that will also be coming in. And we are starting to get subdivision plans from some of the sites that we have approved for conditional zoning. The best one, Madison Ridge. Madison Ridge is the new name for Turkey Creek. And they have come up with a residential layout, not the commercial piece, but the residential layout is in front of us at this point in our office, and it's my belief it'll be coming in fairly shortly.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
So super excited about that. And that's all I can think of. Any other updates? Okay.
Thank you, Director.
We have.
Mhm.
Yeah, good night.
Board comments, any further board comments? I think we thrashed out our feelings vis-a-vis the size of the board. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring to the table?
Yes, Eric, looking back at the consistency statement, when I reread this again today, under item one, there's 4 bullets. One that I seem to constantly sort of harp on, is sort of addressed by number 2, preserves the character of his existing neighborhoods through encouraging context sensitive design. You know, one thing, this is just my opinion, but one thing I always like to pay attention to is when something unique or very different moves up against something existing, to give the existing sort of due diligence and due justice with what's being imposed upon it. And that word imposed may be a bit strong, but that's something you've heard me talk about a few times before. And then down to the 4th bullet under number 1. This is something you've heard me sort of gripe to Chatham Park about. I know it's a very vague, open-ended, subjective statement, but one thing I've kind of gone after Chatham Park about is them constantly hitting minimum design standards on stormwater, a few other environmental things, 50 foot. Occasionally I've gone out and measured 45, but nothing's ever come of that. But, you know, in their preamble to us 15 years ago, as well as this, we're talking about best practices in land use planning, green infrastructure, conservation development, and so forth. So when I'm just sort of explaining why I sort of talk about these things from time to time, is when they keep coming back with minimum standards on some of the environmental and setbacks and stuff. That's the sort of the thing that I'm bringing to, and I'm just throwing this out, you know, as something that we're kind of biting into. Anyway, that's like, you know, that's something I'm just kind of trying to refresh all of our memory on, things that Chatham Park has promised and that we've sort of signed on to with our consistency statement. Thanks.
Fair enough. Good comment. Any further board member comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Bill, did you have something? Motion to adjourn?
It's printing.
Oh, printing. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Bill raised a point with me in the sidebar that he would like to have printed copies of the literature, the way we used to do it in the old days. I don't think we need the full-size blueprints, but the small packets, right?
Well, when I joined the board, they brought everything to the house
Yeah.
before the meeting. Then they quit doing that, said you could pick it up yourself. Then they said they'd have it in the box, you could pick it up at the office. Last time I went up there was nothing there, and they told me they didn't print more. Now, I'm using my money and my paper and my printer ink to print documents for the town.
So I guess the request from the board would be for members such as Bill or myself or Frida or anybody who would wish to have the printed copies. Can we make that request and suggestion to the planning office?
Yes, they may be picked up with reception.
Picked up at reception.
The box that was in the hall has been removed.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you want to do this on the basis of a sign up of those that would like?
Email around.
All right, an email to you? All right. Very good. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
So we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.
Getting that approved.